There's a moment after every election that most of us voters never see. The posters come down, the rallies come to an end, and also speeches have stopped. And inside government buildings, very little changes. The same files are open on the same desks, and the same contracts are still mid-process. The same people still decide what moves and what doesn't. Elections feel like change, but power is far more patient. In the last episode, we looked at what happens when loyalty replaces competence and how that choice quietly breaks public service. Today, we're going one step further, because if elections are how leaders are chosen, then who actually runs the state the rest of the time? The core question this episode asks is, where does power really sit between elections, and why does that matter for voters? To answer that, we need to understand how the state actually functions, not in theory, but in practice. There is this common belief that once someone is elected, they can suddenly fix things immediately. They can hire and fire at will. They can directly control service delivery. That belief is understandable, but it is also largely incorrect. In reality, ministers set policy direction, councillors vote on decisions, but implementation lives elsewhere, in offices that most of us voters never see. To understand this, think of the state as having three layers. One, political leadership. These are your presidents, ministers, premiers, mayor, councillors. They are elected or politically appointed. Their role is to set priorities, pass policy, and provide oversight. They do not actually run the daily operations. Number two, administrative power. This is where things get real. This includes director generals, municipal managers, chief financial officers, hospital CEOs, and head of departments. These guys, they control budgets, they sign contracts, they appoint staff, they manage systems. They are rarely household names, but they hold immense power. Number three is institutional processes. These are your procurement rules, HR systems, treasury regulations, oversight mechanisms. These guys, they determine how fast decisions move, what is allowed, what gets blocked. And when these systems are weak or manipulated, nothing works, no matter who is in office. So why are those acting positions such a big deal? Here's a detail that matters more than it sounds, right? Across South Africa, many key roles are filled by acting officials, sometimes for years. Why this matters is that acting officials lack long-term authority, meaning big decisions are postponed, accountability becomes blurred, and when something goes wrong, they were only acting. So this creates a state of permanent uncertainty, and systems don't function well in limbo. Because power isn't loud, sometimes power looks like delaying a signature, not approving a post, reassigning responsibility, waiting out public outrage. Nothing illegal, nothing too dramatic, just enough inaction to keep things exactly as they are. And because this happens behind the scenes, voters are often told, we're trying, but the system is broken, which leads to the real question, who is responsible for fixing this system? Here's a power literacy tool that you can use as a voter. When you evaluate your leaders, you should ask, do they understand administrative power? Are they strengthening or weakening an institution? Are key positions permanently filled or endlessly in that acting space? Is blame followed by reform or just explanations? Remember that power that can't be traced can't actually be held accountable. So why does this matter so much in election seasons? Well, elections are not just about changing faces, rotating parties, or making promises. They're actually about changing how power is exercised. If leadership, for instance, politicizes administration, undermines professional independence, and protects failures, then even the best policies will collapse. This is why governance reform is slower than campaign slogans, but far more important. In the next episode, we'll look at who suffers the most when these systems fail and why broken governance always deepens inequality. Because power doesn't affect everyone equally, and understanding that is essential if democracy is going to mean more than a vote every few years.